Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Leila Rhodes and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at NetCom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. We are very excited to host today's webinar, How to Mitigate Malware and Ransomware Attacks Efficiently. And presenting today's topic is Tom Updegrove. Tom is an information security expert with over 35 years of experience, and he has extensive expertise in computer network security, firewalls, switches, IDS, VPNs, remote access, disaster recovery, and backup planning. He has worked on the creation and development of solutions for protecting networks, systems, and information assets for over 12 years for diverse organizations, and his training techniques have a proven track record of delivering in-depth knowledge of his practices. Now, please bear in mind that this is still just an overview of a very robust topic. We do offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored toward your specific requirements. If you're interested in a further discussion about any of those, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at www.netcomlearning.com at any time. NetCom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organizations by achieving a smarter workforce, adopting change, and driving growth. And we do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. NetCom Learning also offers a comprehensive training portfolio for security courses, and our upcoming classes include various trainings on computer hacking, forensic investigator V10, certified ethical hacker V11, certified incident handler, and certified network defender V2, and many more. Now, private training to teams is also available, and those learning plans can be customized to the specific needs of each audience. You can also access a variety of security marketing assets, such as the free 1-hour training, free on-demand training, and blogs by clicking on the available webinar handout. And these offerings can also be found with a simple search on our website at www.netcomlearning.com. In today's webinar, we will get an overview of the different types of malwares, tools to detect malware, and the steps to prevent a malware attack. Also, we will learn about the latest security tools and methods to protect the organization's security stance against cyber attacks. And now, without any further wait, I'm going to go ahead and pass the time over to Tom to present. Tom, you should be able to share your screen now. Thank you for joining us, Tom.
Okay, Leila, thank you for that fantastic introduction. So yes, we are going to talk about malware and ransomware, what it is and what we can do to prevent it. Okay? Most of this actually was taken right from the ethical hacker and network defender courseware. So it's just a little taste of what goes on. There's a lot of stuff here, so we're gonna pretty well fly through it, and hopefully we can deal with some questions on the back end. Ideally, we'll get some information about the different types of malwares, what is malware in general, right? Security tools, detect suspicious activity, understand how IT security fundamentals prevent malware outbreaks. Okay, at the very end, we're going to talk about remediation. Okay, but in order to really understand malware, let's talk about really what is malware first, right? So we can identify that. Okay? Many types. The most common thing we know about viruses, but there are worms, there are Trojans, and today there's even combinations of these factors, rootkits, spyware, So let's take a little time to try to understand these elements. Okay, there's a lot of information in these slides, so you'll be able to kind of roll back through them when we do it. And we know pretty much how we get infected. Usually it's clicking on a link in an email. It could be SMS. It could be something came from into your phone, and then you connected your phone to your computer. Could be in a thumb drive. You just plugged into your computer or something passed around. People will do that and share files that way. Sometimes it's in the software. There's just a bug. There's been a bug going around in Microsoft Office lately. Websites, possible what we call drive-by downloads. You would tend to go to site A, but there's some malicious content in that site that directs you to site B, and site B has malware in it. It can happen Wi-Fi. You could be in what you think is a private network, but yet you're not. It could be through other wireless signals like Bluetooth. Okay, these are all the potentials for it. Black hat search engine optimization. That's when the bad guys are manipulating websites so that you think you're going to the correct site, but you're going to the wrong site. Clickjacking, they kind of manipulate. You might have a little click here, button here, but actually there's a little iframe in that button that redirects you to somewhere that you're going to download some malicious content. Malvertising, another tricky technique of criminals. Legitimate websites that are compromised, okay, or illegitimate websites that look like the real legitimate website. Drive-by downloads, already explained. You happen to went to site A, but you got redirected to site B. Spam emails, you name it. Just some tools, cryptors, downloaders. Basically, these are things that hackers will wrap the malware in order to make it look like a safe program. Usually, they'll take, let's say, simply put, we take a game like chess, and we wrap the malware into the game. You go to a peer-to-peer file sharing site, you download the game and install it. No big deal. Then all of a sudden, you don't see anything happen, but the malware is running in the background. It may be looking for credit card numbers, social security numbers, important information that would be helpful to a criminal, or worth some value, some data. We see it happen all the time with just adware. You trying to get something for free, and that's what happens is you definitely get the free thing and some stuff on top of it. Types of malware. So Trojans, viruses, ransomware, computer worms, rootkits, pups, or potentially unwanted applications. Sometimes they're called the PUP, a pup. A lot of your antivirus programs will do that. Spyware. There's actually some spyware that is legitimate. It's a really gray area because is not a cookie a form of spyware that is tracking your kind of computer use. Keyloggers, botnets, fileless malware. So we're going to walk through these all. Okay. So a Trojan is a program that has malicious code in there, but yet it appears to be a normal program. Mostly Trojans create backdoors, which allow people to re-access your program. Sometimes it's called a RAT, or remote access tool, or remote access Trojan. And nicknamed Trojan because of the Trojan from Troy. So you think you're getting something, you're getting something else. They're bad and prevalent. Indications, you see your cursor moving, your mouse moving around, your computer's acting a little weird. It could be slow, things are opening and closing. Okay? Somebody's in your computer. Okay? There's a lot of actual what we call white labeled or white listed malware. So actually, a white listed Trojan would be something like TeamViewer. And a lot of times we get this pretend to be virus on our machine, or we may get some pop-up and you'll see a link or a phone number to call, and they'll want to connect to your machine using actual whitelisted remote access tools. But when as soon as the intent is to use it in a malicious reason to steal something from you, it becomes malware in that time. How do hackers use them? They can do all kinds of things, because it depends naturally if the program is installed with your user privileges, and most people using their computers usually have administrative rights. If it's a personal machine, then that tool is going to have administrative rights as well. They'll disable firewalls, create backdoors, steal data from you, personal private information that is utilizable. A lot of ports, 65,354 ports on the machine in TCP as well as UDP. These things can run on most have default ports. Your anti-malware software knows these ports and knows to look for them, and they know what to look for. Trojans could be categorized in various ways, such as a backdoor Trojan or remote access Trojan. Really pretty similar. Rootkit Trojans, we'll talk a little bit of rootkits to go on. E-banking, point of sale, defacement. We don't see it much anymore. Usually you don't get anything by defacing things anymore. You just, basically you want the data. You want information that could be sold, or used to further garner. There are tools for creating Trojans. Here would be a Trojan kit called Thief. In fact, it turns out that people who create these kits, then it's more like a multi-level marketing for criminals. They'll rent them out or sell them, and then you'll find that sub-criminals under them will be utilizing that program. They're either going to make the money from that, or they're going to keep a portion and pass that on to the handler. Virus differs from a Trojan and other types of malware because a virus, like a human virus, needs a host. It needs a human virus needs a cell to invade. In computer world, viruses need a program to corrupt, to infect, and then from there it can do things like self-replication, encrypt itself and so on. It's hard to separate the virus from the worm, from the backdoor, from the Trojan, and so on. But viruses in the beginning were just boot block viruses, and they were kind of, I think it was really more of hey, look what we can do, with some code. I remember years ago, that's exactly the way they were. But then they grew to a certain level that people started to monetize them. Typically, a virus doesn't spread from machine to machine. It needs some help from a worm, which we'll find out in a minute. But working together, they can do a lot of damage to networks. Okay? Certainly, a virus can wipe out all your files, no problem. Very, 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 very effective at that. Again, what are the indications? Your machine is acting weird, it's acting slow, you're not getting internet access, I've seen viruses that delete all your icons. Actually, they delete the extensions and they make some changes to it. So it doesn't really delete them, but for all intents and purposes, you don't see anything on your screen. It can cause freezing, weird type of hard drive activity. It could be a type of virus that's actually talking to a command and control server and which we'll talk a little bit about. They do go through a life cycle, such as the design of it, the replication. Once it's installed on the machine itself, it can do certain things. Usually, viruses today are what we call polymorphic, which means that they're always a little different. So that those signature codes of your antivirus, aren't really effective. Certainly, when you may actually install the virus, it may be lurking there, sitting there, but it might be like a logic bomb type virus that only it's gonna go off at a certain date or when you run a particular application. I mean, if I was really looking for financial information, then I would wait until you opened up your QuickBooks, to really do my duties. Of course, they will be detected at some point, ideally. And antivirus software developers try to assimilate defenses against the virus itself, but by looking for things like a hash of the particular strain of the virus. Like I say, they change so often, so rapidly that it's very hard to develop defenses against them using signatures. So virus programs or antivirus programs also need to have what they call heuristic or looking for behavioral changes. And they sandbox that application for a period of time to see if it's doing anything malicious. And of course, at the end, we are able to kill the virus and to damage the routine that it wants to run. So how does a computer get infected? Again, we're probably clicking on links that came in an email. And especially was the email actually from somebody or was it just something like, hey, win a free vacation to Tahiti, simply click here and enter your email address. It could be some pirated software. There's a number of times that software itself and devices have already been infected with some type of virus or a Trojan. Many times this happens. Sometimes the software development software is infected. So therefore, every program that has been written with that particular development kit will contain that same virus or that same malware. We always should be updating when there are plugins or new versions of the web browser. We should be updating them and staying on top of it. We should have updated. We're going to talk about antivirus because this is what we mostly know it as. But today we've moved on from antivirus to endpoint protection, to managed detection or extended detection and response. So these are more sophisticated forms of malware protection that can utilize artificial intelligence and actual team, someone to be watching for these types of alerts. Many new applications that are coming out on the market today that are very helpful in preventing this stuff, at least catching all the low-hanging fruit. Yeah, you could use portable media, such as plugging in a drive that you lent to somebody. Connecting untrusted networks, like the airport when you're looking for free Wi-Fi, right? My mother always said there's no such thing as a free lunch. In many cases, it's true. This is just a partial list of them. A system or boot sector virus, when the machine boots up, it's there. File and multipartite. Sometimes multipartite means that it has 2 or 3 functions, like a shotgun approach. Macro and cluster macro viruses are usually Visual Basic. It's a Microsoft document that has some type of macro in it. Stealth and tunneling virus will do that. They'll You won't see much of what's going on, but they're talking to somebody in an encrypted way. Encryption virus is just that we can't tell what it's doing because we can't read the signatures for them. Sparse infector, polymorphic, metamorphic, overwriting, companion, shell, fat, logic bomb. Logic bomb is one that goes off. Okay. The file allocation table might be where it's hiding. Web scripting viruses, and so on. Many, many viruses. You can actually write a virus in BASIC. Follow this code right here. But they're much more sophisticated than 4 lines of code. But there are also kits for virus creation. Right here, this is one of the tools we use in the ethical hacking program called the JPS Virus Maker. And in here, you have things like crazy mouse or disable backup, disable the host file, put itself into auto startup, so when you reboot, it just will boot up anyway. So there's a lot of crazy stuff. This is kind of a fun little tool to run. And usually when we're running in class, everybody goes, "Oh yeah, I would love to run this on so and so." And ransomware. So we hear a lot about ransomware, and it's a form of malware as well. Right? So basically, it encrypts your files, and then holds those encrypted files for ransom. Has been up to the tune of millions of dollars. And the crazy thing about ransomware I read just yesterday was that 80% of the people who have paid the ransom were infected again, a second time. And of those 80%ers, 40% were infected a third time. There was even some that were infected a fourth time. But why? Because so the way it works is you get your files encrypted. You get a message to contact somebody, make a payment. It's always going to be in some type of cryptocurrency. And then they give you the decryption key, or they get on your machine and decrypt it, either one. I mean, already they have all your data. And don't think that they weren't in that machine for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes to do it. They've been in your machine for a month, 2 months, 3 months. I mean, they got all your information. Sometimes they double ransom you. They charge you to decrypt your files, then they charge you to prevent your stuff from being doxed or leaked out on the dark web and sold. So it's a big problem. It's very easy to prevent yourself from being ransomware, or to remediate and prevent it from happening. But those it happens to should take better precaution. And that's what it looks like. You get a little message like that. The latest one I've seen, and there's just some over some families. The latest one I've seen, they actually take BitLocker, which is Microsoft's encryption, and use BitLocker to encrypt, but they don't give you the key. So here, all somebody has to do is get a machine, okay, encrypt all the data, and then just take the key and then delete any intention to it. Usually BitLocker, if you have like Office 365, you get the option of BitLocker being cached in your Office 365 account. But that could actually work to the inverse, that somebody got access to your Office 365 account, then you have access to your BitLocker key. Worms. Okay, worms are different than a virus and a Trojan in the sense that worms are network aware. Worms will go from machine to machine and spread across the network, usually using file shares or something like that. Sometimes they will use the alternate file streams, which is a kind of a hidden partition or hidden space in the NTFS file system. And they will store their information there. Worms replicate on their own, and they spread through an infected. They're basically infected network, and that's how they spread. There are worm kits right here. The Internet Worm Maker thing. These are known worm making kits, but if you were in the know and you were privy to some of the user groups on the dark web, you could buy yourself a worm making kit that you could use for fun and profit. Rootkits are a different animal because they hide their presence usually on the boot block of the hard drive itself. They used to be very, very difficult to find. We've gotten much better at them. But even so, every time you boot up, these things can infect the system again. So one of the big problems with getting infected with any type of malware, usually you have to burn it down to the ground. In other words, you have to just kill the entire operating system, wipe the hard drives, okay, and then rebuild. It's the only way you know that you're safe. Okay? And even then, there's always a possibility of the firmware of a machine getting corrupted, okay, or infected with something. Okay? So unless you have really, a lock on the BIOS of the system itself, it's possible. And so it's stuff that people, specialize in that area handle. Rootkits are normally placed on a machine by one will scan for vulnerable computers and servers on the web, infect that maybe a web server. They wrap it in a special package like a game, like I said. Install it on public computers or corporate computers through social engineering, then launch a zero-day attack. So a zero-day attack is a flaw, a vulnerability in either the network, operating system, or web code that nobody knows about or has just learned about, but there's been no remediation, no patch made for it yet. So then they root. So why it's called a rootkit is because you get root access, you get root privileges, which means you can do whatever. And so, and they'll hide their tracks. Okay, generally the phases that the attack happens is they find targets, find systems that are running on the internet, okay? Or maybe inside of just your network, and then look for operating systems and services that are running in the operating systems that are vulnerable. Okay? Once someone's done their due diligence and have come to understand the vulnerabilities and the actual versions of the services, they can mount an attack and then infect the machine and store these. And once that exploit has happened, then they're going to disrupt or in a way change the logs so that there's a discrepancy as to what actually happened, and that's considered hiding their tracks. Okay, in that process, they're also going to try to create a backdoor or a way that they can come back into the system without you knowing it. All the while you're you don't know what's happening. Pups, potentially unwanted applications.
We're going to take a moment and hear from Joby, and he is our VP for Vendor Operations. He's going to introduce some of our promotions and webinar-related courses. Joby, are you with us?
Yes, Leela, thank you. All right, so while you also think about those questions and answers, thank you, Tom, really for enlightening us about malware and ransomware and what to do and what not to do, what happens, what are the possibilities. That was really enlightening, and I'm sure all of us have learned a lot today. So just to add on to what Tom has said, and how as NetCom, what we are trying to do as far as end user security awareness is concerned, is what I'm going to take over the next few minutes. I'm going to quickly share what we have to offer. So we all heard about this, and this is good information. But how many of us are really interested to actually get into webinars like this, dedicate their 30 minutes or 40 minutes into it, and get the complete understanding on what are the do's and don'ts and what are the possibilities when it comes to malware and ransomware and so on, right? All that information is there. So what we thought was, to bring a product which is more of a security awareness solution to your organizations. Now, what are we doing here is that, first we are having a security awareness training. Now, when I say training, I know that you might be thinking, oh, not again that, I have to sit in a classroom and go through it. We have made it very simple. I'll talk about it in the coming slides. And then the best part is to also test primarily the cybersecurity hygiene of the end users within your organization. So this is a product which we are bringing to you called Phishing Simulation Solution and Cybersecurity Awareness Training. So we've understood what the problem statement is, that you could have the best of the antiviruses and all that, but if the end user is not cautious enough, it could wreak havoc on the organization. We heard about ransomwares, right? We heard about ransomwares which runs into millions of dollars, and we heard about double, triple, and quadruple ransomwares being attempted on people, and there are a certain percentage of organizations who fall prey to that as well. So to solve this problem, typically, of course, all the measures like antivirus, firewalls, and other solutions which are to be implemented are there, but it's also important that the end user, we as end users, we also are capable of handling what we need to do. So phishing simulation is important because in real life scenario, primarily in a safe environment, this simulation can test the end users or the employees of the organization to basically see whether they are following the policies or they are knowledgeable enough on how to handle different scenarios. As Tom was mentioning earlier, if you've received an email with a link, do you click on it? Do you know the person? Did you check the email ID and so on? So, testing the employees is an integral part, and what we have done is doing that in a safe environment for the organization. So this simulation works. So there are broadly three types of simulations which we can do with this solution of NetCom. First is email phishing. Second is smishing, which is SMS based, and third is wishing, which is voice based simulations, which voice is a phone call being made to the employees of the organization. SMS is when you, smishing is when you send a SMS to the employees. Email obviously is a simple, different based on different scenarios. Emails are sent, and the behavior is tracked. And in case there are employees who are making an error, which means either they are clicking on something or they are downloading something, or they are sharing some information which they are not supposed to, they can, they will be assigned a training, which will, again, now training doesn't mean that it is a punitive action. It's more of more to enable the individual to gain that knowledge on what are the right things to do. So we have more than 90 different kinds of topics, or more than 90 courses, which is part of the solution. And I would quickly like to sort of take you through the features, and if you're really keen to know more about this product and how does this work, maybe a quick demo at no cost to you or no liability to you, please visit our website and click a request for a demo for it. We'll be glad to come on a call and give you a quick demo, run you through the how the whole solution works. It's fairly intuitive, user-friendly, and cost-effective as well. So I would encourage all of you to come over to our website and do request for a demo. What does it do? This is a 365 days access once you sign up with us. So the simulation tool and the course videos or the courses would also be available for 12 months. At the end of each of the courses, course completion, once you pass the assessment at the end of it, you also, the end user gets a training a certificate. There is reporting to the management. That's very important because, training it's easy to assign a training or easy to run a simulation, but how do you track it? Tracking and reporting is the most important thing for the organization. So that's available in this solution as well. So these are broadly what we have to offer. Allow me to quickly share my screen and let me just give you a glance of what how does this tool or the solution which I'm talking about looks like. It has got broadly 6 offerings: entice to click, credential harvesting, and sending attachment. These 3 are email phishing tools. Entice to click is when you send some information to your employees and sort of encouraging them to click on something, and if they are not cautious, they would end up clicking on it. Credential harvesting is basically when the login ID and password needs to be entered. So somebody is redirected to a login page. It could be a bank login page, or it could be any of your organization's internal portal accesses, which we can sort of replicate as part of this solution. And sending an attachment. Now, sending an attachment is, again, if you remember, Tom was talking about that, don't do it. You receive a attachment from an unknown source, don't open it, don't download it, don't click on it, right? So sending an attachment, this is again one of the forms of testing. Wishing, as I said earlier, a voice call will be made and some information would be sought from the person. It could be an IVR, or it could be just an audio recorded call, or it could be somebody doing it live on your behalf as well. And smishing is when somebody receives an SMS seeking some information, and then if you end up sharing it, obviously you've lost the information, right? So moving on, assigning new training. Now, as I said earlier, we have more than 90 different kinds of courses in this particular solution. So your organization can directly go to this tab and select those courses which they want the employees to go through out of 90, more than 90 courses. Let's say your organization decides to assign 5 of them to a certain profile of people within the organization, and maybe 10 of them to somebody else, or maybe the whole basket to the organization and give them about a few months time to go through the courses. Even that can be done. I was talking about the reports, so there are different kinds of reports which are available for the management of the organization to monitor what's happening as far as the simulation and security awareness training is concerned. So that's it from my side. I would encourage you all to visit our website and click on the request demo button, and we would be glad to meet you over a online meeting like this. and give you a complete demo of the product. So that's it from my side. Over to you, Leela.
Thank you so much. Okay, we will go ahead and get into our question answer session. First question that we're having for you, Tom, is what is the most dangerous type of malware?
So I think Trojans are probably the most dangerous because they create a backdoor. They allow the perpetrator to again and again have access to all your important data. You know, and if it's a network of computers, then from that one machine, they can then scan the entire network and find information. So it's the beginning of what's called an APT, or advanced persistent threat. And what makes them advanced is that they're smart, sophisticated threat agents. What makes it persistent is that it goes on for a long time, 3, 6, 9 months, a year. Sometimes people are in systems for a while. They're just gathering information, you know, and then devising some type of plan. So that's what I think is probably the most dangerous.
Thank you. And it looks like we have one more question right now before we wrap up today. It is, are there other ways to protect computers and networks besides antivirus?
Yes. So you need a firewall will do a great job. So you need two ends. You need something on the endpoint, the computer itself, where you're opening email and inserting things into, you know, thumb drives and so on. But you also need something on the edge where the internet connection is coming in and out. So traditional firewalls did certain things. They blocked ports, and they blocked certain services from happening. But now the firewalls are getting smarter, and they're using AI, and those firewalls can actually be utilized in the cloud as well for even more robust behavioral changes. So definitely a smart firewall along with endpoint protection is what you need to be doing, as well as educating yourself and everyone you're involved with if it comes to computer networking.
Thank you. Well, with that being said, we are through all of our questions today. In addition to today's webinar, we have a lot of informative webinars coming up. So please go to www.netcomlearning.com/webinars/ to register for any of those. We want to thank you all for joining us today. If you do come up with any additional questions, please feel free to send them to us at webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. And we want to thank you all for joining us today. And thank you for this informative webinar. We look forward to seeing you all back here very soon. Also, feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Once again, thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Joby, and have a great day.